Welcome to Fandom Power.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fandom Power Presents the Fan Batch. This is our episode 11.
Yep, but we're covering the 12th episode.
That's right.
Of the Bad Batch.
12 of, what did we say?
16.
Wow. Man, that episode count thing that I talked about last week is really rearing its head this week. In light of this week's episode, I am really worried that we're not going to get all the resolution that I want from this season.
We're going to get another season.
That's true. I am fully on board. I'm totally confident that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I might even be recanting a little. I mean, that would be a perfect thing to push to the very end for a second season. Is that dangled thread? Especially if there's a long con. We don't want, we love going back 15 years to the beginning of Clone Wars and going, whoa. So I'm if it's a long con, I'm in for the long haul. So
me too. I'm definitely in. Last week I said that the episode or the show had taken a sharp left turn. This week I think it took another left, so we're actually going backwards now. I don't mean that literally. I just mean narratively, like, whoa, what the hell just happened? We're still on Ryloth. We didn't get, so the way that this episode ends with people kind of going their separate ways did not give me the tragic conclusion I thought we were going to get.
You're going to have to wait for it.
I guess so.
They leave you with a little hope.
It even makes me wonder if there's something specific planned for Hera by herself in the near future. You
know what? Why not?
It would be serious. Yeah, and we understand from the last episode that these are all one narrative, and they have they are very much like chapters within a large book. Like the Clone Wars is just a chapter, and Rebels is just a chapter. So it's, and with that, they're chapters that when you read them out of order, it almost makes it cooler.
I think so. It's definitely given me reason to go back and revisit. And like I said, we've said it many times before. Every time you go back and you revisit these older episodes that directly connect or even indirectly connect to what we're watching currently, just adds a lot more depth to it. And it's a very enjoyable experience.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, even Disney Plus is getting in on it because they've created lists of here's what you need to watch, essential episodes for like Ahsoka or the Bad Batch or the Clone Wars.
It's true. Did you spot with respect to the Marvel stuff, they have the chronological Marvel timeline now, and it puts Loki before WandaVision chronologically. So it makes interesting. Sorry, I'm diverging, but interesting things for the multiverse there. So it's cool. I love what Disney's doing. It's sort of like meta, with the fly-throughs and the things like that. So it's brings the audience in. It's kind of nice.
All right. So this week's episode, it's episode 12. It's called Rescue on Ryloth. This one debuted Friday, July 25th, 2021. At runtime, man, they are sticking pretty close to the mark here. This one goes 24 minutes, 48 seconds without your credits. A little bit longer with the credits at a whopping 29 minutes. This one's written by Jennifer Corbett and is directed by Nathaniel Villanueva.
Little nod to the Clone Wars episodes featuring Ryloth, because every single Clone Wars episode said "Crisis on Ryloth," rescue on Ryloth. So it is a little nod to the 4 or 5 episodes that actually were on Ryloth.
Synopsis this week is the Batch is tasked with a dangerous mission. I guess is working as mercenaries. I mean, they're all kind of everything's mission based.
They literally become the A-team in this episode. They go from soldiers,
yes, they
mercenaries, to paid mercenaries, to benevolent paid mercenaries helping random strangers out of tough situations. And I friggin' love it.
Giving the money back.
I could just, the B team. Perfect. Wrecker is BA. He's afraid of heights. It's all becoming clear now.
It's so funny. That's hilarious. It's funny too, because this week I was really, really taken back. We're going to get to it, but there's a shot of, I guess that makes Tech the Murdoch of the group, and the way that he, shall I say, pushes the Havoc Marauder this week is definitely in the style of, "You crazy fool."
Yeah. It's awesome, actually.
Yeah. All right, let's get into this one. Oh, I did it again. There we go. Okay, we open with an exterior shot of the Capitol building on Ryloth. Inside the building, Admiral Rampart and Captain Hauser walk down a corridor within the detention center. All right. Stepping up to one of the cells, we see that Sham, Eleni, and Gobi are held within. Rampart, speaking smugly, tells Cham how unfortunate it will be for the people to see him fall, having attempted to assassinate Senator Orn Frita. Cham says the people won't believe his lies, but Rampart has the advantage and presses him further, adding that his loyal followers will be even easier to deal with, including his daughter. Interesting to note here, we get a little vibe off of Hauser this week, and the first little nod is kind of in this scene where Hauser he's taking in what Rampart says, and he kind of gives him the double take, like, "What? What'd you just say? What?
So you're gonna threaten a kid?"
Yeah. Of course, he was present for the events of last week's for this assassination attempt, and even then, right? I mean, it's very clear. And he goes on to mention it later in this episode how, like, that's not what happened. I mean, he's a conflicted character, and he could be ostensibly the Rex of this series in a loose kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Turning his attention to Eleni, Admiral Rampart says, "You're the reasonable one. Tell me where your daughter is, and I'll make sure she's returned to you safely." But Eleni says Eleni won't have anything to do with it, and standing up, she approaches the door and says, "I've seen how you treat your allies, Admiral. I prefer to be your enemy."
I really like that line.
Yeah, me too. All right, I got a lot more images this week. I don't know why. Just for some reason, the narrative structure of my notes just kind of lent itself to
imagey.
A lot more. Yeah.
There was a lot more said without being said.
There is quite a bit of nuance. Again, the show has been rife with it, but this episode's got a fair amount going on. Having the last word, Admiral Rampart tells Eleni, "Have it your way," and walks away from the cell, leaving Hauser silently staring at the three Twi'leks for a moment before he too walks away. You can tell from this scene that there's some conflict going on there, and he's definitely processing something. He just doesn't seem to have the words.
Well, he's got to be torn at this point. Like he even at the end, he literally says that I can't leave my brothers. But right now, he's like, what the heck is happening? He's trying to process this very quickly.
There's a whole lot. I guess
in his best interest to stay
for sure
where he is right now. I mean, jumping ship too early is super
giving
dangerous.
Everything that happened in the last episode, and now trying to like reconcile with like what the hell just happened. Like somebody just shot that guy, and now
the whole time thinking the right thing is going to be done here. Like they're going to get trial and let go, or found guilty, but then have a benevolent prison sentence or something. He's hoping for the best at this point, but you can see in his face that he knows.
And the implication of what's happening here now, and of course, given we talked about his ideology and his potential loyalty to Cham, and I mean that's got to be sort of, he's getting challenged on several ethical, moral levels.
And you really see that in the animation again, which is like the acting is
big time,
brilliant and subtle, and it's cartoon. It's
so cool.
Yeah.
As Admiral Rampart and Captain Hauser depart the Capitol building, the flag officer instructs the veteran clone to round up the rest of Syndulla's sympathizers and arrest them. Hauser challenges his order, stating that the people are not insurgents. There's no cause to arrest them. Rampart says they're supporting a menace, and Syndulla's forces attacked their transport and shot Senator Frita. Stepping toward the Admiral, Hauser challenges him more directly by asserting that he was there during the attack, and the shot didn't come from Cham or any of his fighters. Then it's Admiral Rampart's turn to challenge Hauser when he says, "Is that so? Then please enlighten me. Who is responsible?"
That's super rare for a clone to do that, too. I can only recall one other time in all of the lore where it's like a direct, which is Rex, and the I can't recall the Jedi's name, turned out to be the forearms and the lightsaber.
Oh, right, the guy who's the same species as Dexter.
Right, yeah. And it was super hard for him because you saw Rex fight with, we got to do the right thing, but the right thing is, and for a soldier to have to think that way in the field about a commanding officer not doing the right thing, it's Apocalypse Now. It was such a cool thing, and then you get to see that this is a rare event when a clone has this level of individuality. And I think what you said before about him and what we were talking about last episode as well is him being that close to Rex is very on the mark.
Very much, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And like you pointed out, Hank, the removing of the helmet, it comes off multiple times.
Yeah, and there's another thing that I think might lead to the idea that there is redemption for Crosshair, and that's that Crosshair is constantly removing his helmet as well at this point.
Is it suggestive of redemption, or is it, as you say, it's a cartoon, and so the acting comes across, like the subtleties and the nuance come across through things, not just in the dialogue, but also through expression.
It's true, but
it's hard to express.
Most of the last 3 episodes he was in with his helmet on. Most of them.
True. Yeah.
Just thought.
Looking rather sheepish, Captain Hauser replies, "I don't know, sir." And Rampart tells him to leave the thinking to me, Captain, adding, "You have your orders." With a "yes, sir," Hauser snaps to attention, telling Admiral Rampart that he'll personally locate Harrison Dula. But Rampart tells him that won't be necessary because another squad is already on that task. All right. Frustrated at being hamstrung by the Admiral, Hauser furrows his brow before walking away. But as he does, Chopper, who has been concealed behind a stack of crates the whole time, rolls out, revealing himself. He's in communication with Hera, and she now knows the Empire is actively hunting her. With a wipe transition, we transition to Hera. She's on a ridge overlooking her family home. She instructs Chopper to be quiet and then peeks over the ridge through her macro binoculars. In the courtyard, members of the Imperial Elite Squad report back to Crosshair that they've searched the house and there's no sign of the girl. One of the squad members proposes that she may have already left the planet, but Crosshair dismisses that idea, knowing that she wouldn't leave without her parents, and then demands the squad find her. Turning her attention back to her comlink, Hera calls to Chopper. With desperation in her voice, she tells him there's a new plan. They need to meet at the base and send out a transmission, and fast. Alrighty. Next. Perfect. With another wipe transition, we move to the Havoc Marauder cruising through space. On board the ship, Omega struggles to repair Gonki. His primary power source won't fully charge, and Hunter tells her that she can't fix him because he's defective. Cheerfully, Omega tells the droid not to worry because, like him, they're defective too. When a transmission from an unknown source comes in, Hunter orders Tech to put it through. It's Hera, and she's desperate for Omega's help. Hunter questions Omega about giving Hera their comm frequency, and Omega tells him that it was for emergencies, and this sounds like an emergency. Tech suggests maybe the situation isn't as dire as she thinks. But sometimes children can overreact. But Omega snaps at him saying, no, we don't. You heard her. She needs us.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you take the message, it seems pretty dire. It's like they took my parents. They're hunting me. I need help.
Yeah. There's a contrast here though, because like what he says isn't untrue. Sometimes children do overreact. And then, not Hera, but then Omega immediately, I know she's not overreacting, but from an adult's perspective, no, we don't. And any adult immediately go, there you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
It's funny. What does he base that on? Because this is his only experience with children. And nobody's really overreacting too much. It's funny, but Hera gets her Princess Leia moment here.
She does.
And it's amazing. Just when you think about her kneeling in front of Chopper, recording the dire message, and it's a direct link to that scene in A New Hope. It's so, I love stuff like that. I love where it's a subtle nod. You might not get it if you're a casual fan, but that's like hit me over the head with a butt end of a lightsaber. It's perfect.
As I was saying off camera before we started recording, how I set up the image. How I insert them in my notes. I give them little titles, and I actually for that image I actually wrote help me Bad Batch, you're my only hope.
So good.
All right. Hunter tries to reason with Omega, telling her that it's a big galaxy. We can't put ourselves on the line every time someone's in trouble. But Omega shoots back, why not? Isn't that what soldiers do? Caught off guard by her reaction, Hunter stares at her for a moment before dropping his gaze. It's this literally like, And
it's a super important line too, because this reflects what Hauser's going through. Because he sees people in trouble that he knows are innocent. As a soldier, is it not his job to help them?
Yeah, and then feeling like you're, between a rock and a hard place and not knowing what to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, returning to Ryloth, Tech maneuvers the Havoc Marauder through a narrow canyon, bringing it to rest inside a hidden cave. The cave is a former command outpost for Cham Syndulla's resistance movement, and both Hera and Chopper are there to meet them. Hera thanks them for coming, and when Hunter asks her why the Empire is after her, she tells them because Cham Syndulla is her father. Tech immediately recognizes the name of the freedom fighter. Hera tells them that the Empire has been targeting anyone who was loyal to Cham. And when Hunter asks her what does she want them to do, she asks them to free her parents from the capital. Desperately, she adds that her parents can pay them once they're out, but she has nowhere else to turn.
Wow, I mean, it's perfect. Like the stakes couldn't be higher. And for them to,
no, they couldn't.
Right, and for them to this is the first time we see them take on, where it's not even financially based, or it's not, because inevitably it is because of Omega's comments, but it's not like we're not rescuing a direct family member. The stakes are nothing for them. This is episodic stakes for them, but
yeah,
they've made that transition to the A-Team style benevolent mercenary for hire. I think this is where they're going to sit too. I think that this is where, you know what I mean? This is where we move forward in that kind of thing.
If anything, Omega in that analogy takes on the Amy role to some degree.
Just like you said before, Barbara Gordon or Oracle. It's sort of perfect.
Yeah. Amy in the A-Team, she was sort of the lead getter, the get us the job kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I found a thing. But it definitely leans into that. We talked last week about the idea that Hera and Omega are essentially friends now, and that opens up this whole other avenue of storytelling, how they can now have like little adventures on their own. And this entire episode hinges on the foundation of that relationship, which we just found out is deeper than we thought, because nowhere in last week's episode was it revealed that she gave up their comm frequency. So
no, exactly.
I mean, that's a huge level of trust. And maybe it's does that lean into the whole, like, the kid thing? Like, I thought it was okay. or is it just
certainly
they're going to be that close going forward? All right. So here they are, the new friends. Omega glances up at Hunter and then walks over to Hera and gives her a nod. Hunter says they need to see what they're up against first, adding that there's no guarantee. Outside the Capitol building, a large crowd stands in the square. The square is guarded by at least 3 ATTE walkers, several clones, and a handful of Viper probe droids, which is kind of cool. We've seen them before. Is it the first time we've seen them in the Bad Batch?
Maybe
it might be.
They might have been hovering in the background, but I don't, they certainly are prominent here.
Viper, yeah, go ahead, Eddie.
Was it a different probe droid that they end up smashing in the jungle in like episode 2?
You know what? Maybe it is. Maybe it's the second time we've seen them.
It's possible.
But we certainly haven't seen them in this kind of
droid, yeah.
This kind of
like
numbers.
Heavy surveillance use.
Yeah. All the way back to The Empire Strikes Back. I think back then we just called it the probe droid.
Yeah,
that's right.
I'm pretty sure we saw it on the jungle planet when they were going after Saw Gerrera.
Yeah. And then in the Kenner toy line, it was referred to as the Probot.
Probot, yeah, that's right.
So all the way back to 1980, the classic Imperial probe droid.
The Black Series one is sexy.
It's so beautiful. I kind of was hoping that they were gonna, you know what? I mean, I kind of hope they give us this one, to be honest with you.
Nice, yeah.
This is cool. This is the 113K variant Viper. This one showed up in Solo, a Star Wars story, and it kind of differs from the original Viper in that it has a rotating blaster collar and some different manipulator options. But this one is definitely more militant,
more tactical than
big time.
Right.
It's a super awesome update though to a classic design.
Yeah, less of a probe, more of a weapon.
Yeah, very much. From a balcony overlooking the square, Admiral Rampart addresses the crowd. He assures the people that while the assassination attempt on their senator has left them shaken, Orn Freetaw's condition continues to improve, and he's expected to make a full recovery. All right.
There it is. So Lords of the Sith remains canon for now.
Yeah.
And like I said last week, his death in that is even suspect, as it's off camera, if you will, when the Star Destroyer that he's on in a prison cell is destroyed by Cham Syndulla's rebels. So that's sort of where they leave his.
I'm going to talk about him a little bit later. There's another scene coming up here with Rampart that made me go, "Oh, we talked about that last week." All right. From a vantage point high above the square, Hera and the Bad Batch observe the Admiral's speech. Tapping into the city's broadcast, Chopper is able to relay the Admiral's audio signal to the group. The Admiral reassures the people that the perpetrators of the assassination attempt have been captured and will be brought to justice. Hunter questions, "Assassination attempt?" And Hera says, "That's not what happened." Hunter gestures to the Batch, and the clones step back from the ridge to discuss their options. With the plasma bridge to the city having been deactivated, going in on foot isn't really an option. Wrecker suggests that they use the Havoc Marauder to blast their way in, but Echo points out that the Capital scanners would detect them. Tech adds that the troop composition here is similar to that of Raxus, pointing out that this is definitely a military occupation. Just as he says that, Hunter hears something and he kind of gives us a hand gesture. "Wait here."
It's almost like a Wolverine moment. He catches a scent on the air.
Almost. And then next thing you know, we get this scene. A Viper probe droid has spotted the Batch, removing any element of surprise that they may have had. And even though Hunter has been able to destroy the droid using one of his knives, it almost certainly has already transmitted their position.
You get the legacy line, a little variation on the legacy line there.
Of which?
Where it's the Empire knows we're coming.
Oh, yeah.
He literally says the Empire knows we're here.
We're here. Yeah, for sure.
Another thing to point out, though, Omega, she's scanning the crowd too, and she points out, "Hey,
she does.
Crosshairs
here. So down in the square, one of the elite squad approaches Crosshair. The trooper hands him a data pad, and Crosshair sees the recording of the Bad Batch. Knowing the sector that the footage was recorded in, Crosshair lifts his head, looking over the crowd directly at the rocky outcropping where the Bad Batch was just hiding. The little the Orabesh in the screen this week, it's pretty simple. It says playback. It's just a recording that's been shown back to them. All right. Back at the cave, a disturbed Hera mentions that all her father wanted was peace, questioning why is this happening. Echo points out that because Cham is a voice the people will stand behind. Hera tells him that she doesn't care about any of that, and all she wants is to have her parents back. As Tech and Chopper step off the Havoc Marauder, Tech informs the group that they are all over the Imperial comm channels, and the patrols in the city have been increased. Hunter remarks that Crosshair will expect an attack, adding the element of surprise is gone, and there's nothing more they can do. Hera desperately tells them, "You can't leave." And Hunter reminds her that there were no guarantees, adding that they can get her off planet and take her somewhere safe. So it's we talked about a little bit about the difference between, strategy versus tactics, and is Hunter the strategist, or is he the tactician? And the lines get kind of blurred here, especially after the Hollow Chess episode where, I'm good at strategy. It's it's a strategy. I'm good at that.
That's right.
I kind of wonder what's motivating Hunter. Is it strictly like this is just not a favorable situation for us to be in?
I would think so, because he knows Crosshair's here. He knows there's an increased military presence.
Yeah.
And that puts Omega in danger.
I guess so. I just think, like in the limited amount of time that we have, spent with the batch, they've gone up against, equally as much in terms of troop composition. I mean, we just left, Senator what's his name from
True.
And I mean that they were being chased by walkers and like the never ending, supply of troopers. And I'm thinking, what made that one okay and this one not?
Omega wasn't there.
I guess so.
And that, I don't know, almost dad-like instinct is like, get my kid out of harm's way now.
So does that, I guess that on a technicality, because I mean that whole the whole setup was, if you beat me at chess, you can come on the missions.
Yeah.
But that doesn't say anything about how he's going to handle himself or handle her.
Well, he's still coming to terms with having her as a soldier.
I guess. Yeah.
Right. And the risk reward on the last mission was literally you're still working towards paying off your debt. In this, there is no there is no sort of risk reward. The personal stakes are nothing but what Omega makes them feel guilty about. So, right. So literally, like, there is no reason to put the girl and everyone in danger when the strategic thing is, I'll take you off planet where you can be safe and maybe figure out. But just like Hera and always being the character that we know her from Rebels, she's not having any of it, and she'll do it herself.
No, she's ready to be in the thick of it. All right, so Hera grasps Hunter's forearm, begging him to stop. She offers to pay him double, but Hunter tells her that all the money in the galaxy doesn't matter if they're dead. That what she's asking them to do isn't worth the risk. Hera replies, "Not to you," and as her voice trails off, she turns to walk away. So this is one of those cases where I had to go back and replay the segment a few times to capture this image, because I really, really wanted to get the expression here from Omega. Oh, where is it here? Here it is. Look at the glare in her eyes.
Yeah.
At this point, a very angry and, dare I say, pissed off Omega chastises Hunter, telling him, "You shouldn't have said that." With his analytical thought process, Hunter tells Omega that being strategic means knowing your limitations. But Omega shoots back that she's trying to save her family. And I'd do the same for you.
Yeah.
I just love how she just grew up right before our eyes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So angry in that scene, and it's so well depicted so well. Back at the Capitol building, Captain Hauser has just reported to Admiral Rampart that he's been able to round up some of Cham Syndulla's supporters, but the Admiral tells him that's not good enough. Hauser adds that if they continue to round up peaceful citizens, it will incite an uprising. But Rampart coldly says, and they will be arrested too. Peace has a cost, Captain. All right, so let's get into this here for a second. So now we're coming up on that scene. So as the two men enter Ornfree Taw's office, and we know it's Ornfree Taw's office because the same plate of fruit is on the desk. Crosshair is already there waiting for them. As the Admiral sits behind the Senator's desk, Crosshair tosses him a datapad, telling him that Clone Force 99 is on Ryloth. He tells the Admiral that they were spotted near the Capitol, but Rampart dismissively tells him there's an entire battalion of troopers outside. Crosshair insists that's not enough, knowing what the Bad Batch is capable of. Last week, I had theorized that there's a chance that Senator Ornfree Taw is already dead, and that if Rampart just went out to the crowd, to the people, and said he's in the hospital, he could effectively sit there on the throne indefinitely. And him sitting behind that desk certainly kind of lends itself to maybe that is what's happening.
I for me it was just like, oh, it lets him be alive in that novel when we actually think he dies later. So it satisfies both things realistically.
Yeah. All right, where are we at here? Here we are. Rampart retorts that he's more concerned about what Crosshair is capable of, adding that because his squad has been unable to locate Hera, he suggests that he stays on task or he'll find someone else who can. Turning, Crosshair locks eyes with Captain Hauser and shoots him a menacing glare before gathering his equipment to leave the office. All right. In a dark corner of the cave, Hera and Chopper talk about what just happened between them and the Bad Batch. Chopper barks something at her in droid speak, and Hera shoots back that she doesn't need a lecture, adding that she didn't give up, he did, in reference to Hunter. Just then, Omega approaches, and the two, and she tells Hera that Hunter means well. She adds, "Don't worry, he'll come around." And when Hera asks her why she trusts him so much, Omega tells her, because he's my brother. They all are. That's pretty cool. It's the first time that she's actually like vocalized that they're siblings, and that's cool. I think we as the audience, we see this whole Hunter Omega father-daughter thing, Wrecker Omega brother-sister thing, but she acknowledges, she sees them all as brothers. So that's kind of cool.
Yes.
Omega then tells Hera that she can trust Hunter as well. All they need to do is come up with a plan and convince him. And when Hera asks Omega why would Hunter listen to her, she tells her because it's strategic. Hera knows Ryloth better than any of them. All right.
Makes sense.
Meanwhile, at the detention center in the Capitol building, Captain Hauser secretly pays a visit to Cham, Eleni, and Gobi. Cham derisively remarks, "So this is the side you have chosen." Hauser shoots back, "You both attacked an Imperial convoy. What did you think would happen?" Eleni interjects, saying that Ornfree Taw gave them no choice, and they had to protect Hera. Doing a double take up and down the hallway, Hauser leans in and quietly says, "That's what I'm trying to do." Hauser tells them that Rampart has a squad out there searching for Hera. And if they know where she is, they should tell him so he can protect her. Cham steels himself and steps toward the ray-shielded door and questions Captain Hauser. Like how you swore to protect Ryloth? We trusted you, Hauser. I won't make that mistake again. Hauser pauses for a moment, turning his gaze downward before walking away. All right.
That part hurt him.
You think?
I think so.
He's speaking to all the clones there too, right?
Yeah.
He's literally saying you were a liberation force and now you're an occupying force.
Yeah.
How do you sleep at night?
And you know what? From Cham's point of view, it's certainly deserved. And maybe on some level, Hauser kind of, it's a part of the catalyst, part of the decision-making process.
You rarely insult someone you don't know.
That's true, yeah. So true. Back on the Havoc Marauder, Hera and Omega lay out a plan to rescue Hera's parents. The idea is to attack the Imperial refinery, which will draw reinforcements from the capital city, creating an opportunity for the Batch to slip in and free the Twi'leks.
The scene with Chopper projecting, Hera coming up with the plan, and it's straight out of Rebels for me. It's perfect.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
I really like this scene.
After assessing the refinery's defenses, it's decided that Chopper will slip inside and disable the autocannons, while Hera and Omega will act as a backup. Then, Tech and Wrecker will attack the refinery from the air using the Havoc Marauder, while Hunter and Echo scale the capital city walls in an attempt to free Hera's parents. All right. At the refinery, a shuttle lands, and a group of Twi'lek workers and several astromech droids, including Chopper, get off and head toward a checkpoint. But sticking to the plan, Chopper deviates, going around the checkpoint, avoiding the guards, and smoothly hops back in line on the other side. That's really, really smooth for him, considering how spastic he is in Rebels.
Yeah, he's next level. I really love that character a lot. Maybe even more than R2 in a lot of ways.
As
Lauren has, yeah, go ahead.
As Proto R2d2, I love him visually. I think he's great. The fact that he is, he's all the sass of R2 amped up to 100.
Yeah, Lauren has a theory that he's actually just like a psychopath. He indiscriminately murders droids all the time.
That's so true.
All the time.
Yeah. And he's gonna do it in this episode too.
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious. In fact, spotting an astromech droid at a computer terminal, Chopper quickly stuns the droid and attempts to deactivate the cannons with his scomp link. All right, let me just find this. Here we go. But the little droid is unable to complete the task, and just as he radios in, a pair of troopers take him into custody. Hera and Omega, who have been watching the whole scene unfold through their macro binoculars, insist they have to help Chopper. Omega says they will, but they have to get the console offline first. And when Hera asks, how are we going to do that? We get this little scene as the shuttles are lined up. And it's literally a take your pick kind of moment. Omega, pointing at the row of attack shuttles, says, with one of those, adding that you said you wanted to be a pilot, right? Meanwhile, Hunter and Echo scale the capital city walls, and just as they reach the top, a trooper, who just happens to be guarding the wall, spots Echo. As he looks over the edge at Echo, the clone comically asks, a little help? But before he can react, the clone is distracted by another voice. Having already subdued the guard's partner, Hunter diverts the trooper's attention with a simple, hey, and quickly knocks him out. All right. Back at the refinery, the two girls dart out of the shadows and take a lift up to the flight deck. They quickly board one of the shuttles, and as they attempt to steal it, Tech radios Omega, wanting to know if Chopper deactivated the perimeter cannons. Omega replies sheepishly, No, but Hera and I are working on it, adding, just don't shoot down our shuttle.
Do we know what kind of shuttle this is? It looks like it's somewhere between the Omicron class and
it is an Omicron, but it's carrying some. When you see it flying by, it looks like it's got a sea container underneath. Like
and it's got a sort of almost a different cockpit. Like it almost looks like an AT-AT kind of cockpit.
Yeah,
it's like a bridge between the Tidarium style shuttle and the actual Omicron attack shuttle.
You know what? Maybe that'll make for a good post this week. Is we'll post up some contrast shots between the Havoc Marauder and the basic Omicron, sort of side by side.
For sure, it's not. We can't understate it enough that the first time Hera gets to fly on her own,
it's an Imperial
shuttle, and there can't be a better Genesis for her life as the best Rebel pilot going. In fact, guys, I don't know if you know this, she flies head to head with Han Solo in a friendly competition and destroys him in the comics.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah,
that is awesome. That's really awesome. All right, so. It's awesome. What's hilarious in this is, remember last week where cool Uncle Gobi, I was going to let you fly. And, he's like, no landings or takeoffs. You're not ready for that. So
right.
There's no one around this week, and so she's got to do, and unfortunately, it doesn't work out for them.
You get the little Force Awakens moment where it's like where Rey's using the Falcon to just level things close to the ground there. A little chaos.
She basically slams into a parked car. With the shuttle now powered up, Hera grabs the control stick and attempts to lift off. Of course, this being her first takeoff, things don't go exactly according to plan, and she slides the ship laterally, slamming into another shuttle parked directly beside them. Then, overcompensating, she puts the craft into a flat spin, careening over the heads of the panicked workers below. And I mean, they are like, literally like freaking out. Finally, gaining control of the shuttle, Hera is able to maneuver it towards Chopper, who's still under guard. An alarm klaxon rings out, and a guard pipes in that there's been a security breach. As the two troopers guarding Chopper stare in dismay at the shuttle hovering in front of them, Chopper wastes no time in stunning both of them.
Nice. It's the same alarm klaxon as the Death Star from the original. Yeah.
It's a very common... throughout Clone Wars, it was the same klaxon on all the Star Destroyers.
That's right.
Like, they must have got a package deal on a ringtone or something.
That's right, yeah.
Because not only is it the same at the refinery, but it's also at the capital city now when the alarm goes off there.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
So, with a clear line of sight from the shuttle, Hera squeezes the trigger using the ship's cannons to destroy the power generator, knocking out the perimeter cannons. Dropping the front ramp, Chopper is able to leap on board the shuttle. As the shuttle pulls away from the refinery, Tech contacts Omega, saying they've detected several explosions near the facility. Omega replies, "That's us. The cannons are down." Cleared to start their attack run, Omega cheerfully tells Wrecker to do some damage, and the big man laughs as he says, "I can do that." I have to say, this sequence here, I wish we could do like full motion video. I wish we could just show this sequence, because
it's crazy
one of
good.
the most visually satisfying sequences I've ever seen. To equate it to something sort of modern 20th century, like it's almost like a helicopter gunship sliding in, doing like this assault on the ground, but like the way that he pushes the Havoc Marauder. So I have a whole lot more. I mean, I've always said that Tech is my favorite of the batch, and even more so now, knowing that for somebody who's so analytical, he's like borderline nuts.
Well, he's got the line of the episode too here. Of course they can't keep up with the crazy erratic flying and unpredictability. And that's the best line of the episode, actually.
All right, so
and he likened it to go back to the A-Team bit.
Yeah.
Does this not put Tech in the Murdoch seat?
Well, that's what I said. I mean, he's totally the Murdoch in this. And now, when you say that, take the glasses off and look at him. Like, he kind of has the look too. All right. Having dropped to near ground level, Tech cuts the thrusters, throwing the Havoc Marauder into what can only be described as a power slide, bringing the aft of the ship in line with the perimeter defenses. Wrecker gleefully destroys at least 2 of the cannons and a clone turbo tank in the first pass. And that's all it takes for the refinery to call the capital for reinforcements. An alarm sounds out in Admiral Rampart's office as Clone Captain Hauser bursts in to tell him the refinery is under attack. Rampart tells him he'll deal with it and orders Hauser to stay there and protect the city.
One more thing to point out, when Tech does that power slide, for half a second, you notice Wrecker in the back. He's about to bang his head, but he protects.
Oh, did he?
He protects.
I missed that. That's awesome.
I did catch the, where they're just kind of hovering there, and then he just jams the throttle, and even he's taken back like, whoa, by the acceleration as they dive towards the ground. I thought that was just such a pretty sweet, sweet moment. Yeah. All right. With the Capitol building in chaos, Hunter and Echo are able to reach the detention level and cut the ray shielding to the cells. Gobi recognizes Hunter and says, "What are you doing here?" Hunter tells him he's there to break them out. Cham questions Gobi, "You know these people?" And Gobi replies, "They're mercenaries, but I didn't hire them." Hunter tells them that Hera did. At the sound of his daughter's name, Cham pushes forward and asks, "Where is she? Is she safe?" Back at the refinery, Wrecker and Tech on board the Havoc Marauder continue to strafe the refinery while the girls on board their own shuttle dart back and forth. Hera remarks that she's getting used to she's getting the hang of it, and Tech comically replies, "Yes, your dangerous and uncontrolled maneuvering is as confusing to them as it is to us."
So good.
I had a
good
chuckle at that. All right. At the Capitol building, members of the elite squad, along with Crosshair, rush out to board a shuttle that's been dispatched to support the refinery. Crosshair orders his troops to stop, and when one of them questions him, saying that the Admiral ordered them to defend the refinery, Crosshair deduces that's not their target. Standing there watching the remaining shuttles depart, Crosshair realizes it was all just a ruse for the prison break.
And we get another shot of his head this week, right there.
The
light just really glistening off that.
It's having gone back and looked at it several times over the last week, it's very Freddy Krueger.
A little bit.
Yeah. All right. But Crosshair isn't the only one paying attention, as Captain Hauser has been watching from the balcony. And when Crosshair and his troops don't leave with the other shuttles, he rushes back inside the Capitol building. Inside the building, Hunter and Echo lead the Twi'leks toward escape. All right, but outside, Crosshair's troops, armed with riot gear, stack up in formation just outside the underground entrance. While across the courtyard, Crosshair takes up a sniping position from the balcony of Orn Freetaw's office. As the clones are about to leave, the Twi'leks are about to lead the Twi'leks out to the courtyard, Captain Hauser calls out for them to stop. He warns them that there's a squad waiting for them outside, but Gobi questions him, asking, "Why should we trust you?" Removing his helmet, Captain Hauser says, "Because I'm on your side," adding that what the Empire is doing is wrong, and they need to get out of there. With all the exits blocked, there's only one way to get out, and that's by using Senator Freetaw's personal shuttle sitting atop one of the building's towers. Eleni beckons Hauser to go with them, saying that the Empire will know that he helped them. But Hauser refuses to leave his squad. He says they're good men, and he has to try to get through to them. On board the Havoc Marauder, Tech is relieved when Hunter radios in to tell him they have alternate transport and they're to meet at the rendezvous. Relieved because there are several Imperial vessels inbound. At the Capitol building, Crosshair's forces are surprised and lower their weapons when the underground doors open and Captain Hauser strides out all by himself.
Thing here, with Crosshair, he's kind of playing chess. Like he thinks he's a couple moves ahead of Hunter, and he's laid a trap for him.
Yeah.
And I got a theory at the end of this that could be where it's going.
The end of the season or the end of the episode? Okay.
Yeah. This scene is very reminiscent of Rex trying to talk some sense into
Jesse.
To Jesse in the finale of Clone Wars.
Yeah, I guess so. That whole the elite squad versus the I want to call them the regs, the white armored clones,
that's right,
the frontline troops, as it were, that are essentially Hauser's troops. I guess that goes back to that whole thing about clones who got Order 66. Now that the order has been triggered, are they just regular dudes again? Like,
right.
Has it been long enough now where we don't have a Jedi around here, so everything's cool?
Right. When nobody's really dissenting, so there's nothing. There's no trigger present. Right. So that was my theory about Cut too.
Yeah.
You've just never been exposed to the trigger.
No. The captain makes an appeal to the regular clones in the squad. He questions, what are they doing? They came to Ryloth to free the planet from separatist control, and they did that. But now they're being ordered to target the very people they were sworn to protect. Throwing down his blaster, he refuses to be part of it anymore and calls out, "Who will stand with me?" And apparently his speech is quite inspiring, as at least 8 clones throw down their riot shields and blasters and step out of ranks to join him.
Dropping your weapons is a strange choice here. I guess it wouldn't matter. The odds are insurmountable anyway, unless every single person there dropped. But it's a strange. I know it's symbolic.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's a strange gesture.
And this is where I was like, I'm surprised that Crosshair just didn't bullseye him right.
Yeah, because it's kind of uncharacteristic of him at that point, because we've seen him before. Almost. Good soldiers follow orders, and if you don't, pop.
Yeah, exactly. All right. From his position on the balcony, Crosshair orders the remainder of his troops to arrest the traitors. At the same time, a hangar door opens up on the side of one of the towers, and a shuttle darts out. Crosshair tries to shoot at it, but his rounds go wide, missing it completely.
Another uncharacteristic moment for him.
That he missed.
Yeah.
Especially after he bullseyed the Pantoran fighter in the previous episode.
In the engine, yeah. Yeah. It's a cool looking ship too. A
little luxury
yacht kind of thing.
It gives me the vibe of I guess you could call it the bus, the bus that wheeled up when Obi-Wan and Anakin stepped off.
That's right.
This is your time with the politicians. Yeah. Where am I at here? There we are. In another city far away from the capital, the Havoc Marauder and the Senator's shuttle are docked in an underground hangar. As Hunter approaches the Syndulas, Eleni holds out a credit case, offering him the payment that Hera had promised, but Hunter tells her to keep it. They'll need it more. Reflectively, Cham remarks to Hunter that he thought he'd fought his last war, but the people need them now more than ever, and they must get organized. Hunter tells him that's not something the Bad Batch can help them with, and looking back at his squad, he remarks that he has his own people to look after. Looking at the children, Eleni remarks that if a war is coming, it will be their fight as much as ours. As the adults go their separate ways, the girls are left to say goodbye. Omega is sad to see Hera go, but tells her, "I'm sure I'll see you around." Adding, "Keep an eye on your brothers. They need it." Hera thanks Omega for believing in her, and as the girls hug one last time before parting ways. As the shuttle lifts off, Omega sadly waves goodbye. Yeah, there's a little scene there. Didn't realize that there was that much disparity in their height.
It didn't seem like there
in the first episode, but looking at this,
even in earlier scenes here, when she's standing right next to her.
I know. When they both
Omega kind of had the high ground in the first episode. It's almost the opposite of this scene. But yeah, no, when I got lost, that I thought that we had seen basically a toddler of Hera in the Clone Wars. I got confused. I was like, wow, she seems to have aged. I was like, how she figured like she's probably 15, 16 there, kind of like.
You should probably address that too, because there's probably some people out there who still think that in the Clone Wars that little girl is Hera, but
right,
you know that it's not. It's another character by the name of Numa.
Right.
And Numa shows up. She was discovered by a pair of clones on Ryloth during that episode, or that
Waxer, and I can't remember the other clone's name.
And they essentially turn her over to Cham's resistance cell, who basically look after her and raise her because Numa's parents had been killed.
That's right.
So Numa turns up again in the episode of Rebels, the one where Hera goes after her mom's Kelakori, and she's actually a grown woman hanging out with Gobi.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, not Hera.
Not Hera.
Not Hera. Yeah.
No, this is her canonical first appearance then.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right. At the refinery, Admiral Rampart surveys the damage from a catwalk. Crosshair approaches from behind and removes his helmet. Without turning, Rampart tells Crosshair that he underestimated his 4 friends, lamenting, if only they were fighting for us instead of against us.
So the first time you get to see any of his vulnerability there. That look on his face in the image you're on right now is he's crazy worried about how 4 clones just did this.
Yeah. I don't get the whole if only they were fighting for us thing instead of against us, because, Rampart is right up Tarkin's behind in the whole we don't need clones anymore.
Maybe even personally to him, like, these very dark side-ish, I know they're Imperial, but like that the idea of usurping your commander to become the bigger commander is just, it's not,
that's true.
It's every villain's dream to take over for the bigger villain and be that big villain.
Well, I mean, Krennic and Tarkin had that relationship, Vader, Palpatine.
Right. So it's not a stretch to go, he's like, willing to skirt the rules to make himself more powerful.
Right. And as we wind down this episode, we are kind of left with this really sinister image of Crosshair, who, without so much as a blink, coldly asks for permission to hunt them down. Rampart, turning to face him, says with a sneer on his face, permission granted. Almost like it was like with, go get them. Like he's just pissed off. And again, this week it's not a fade out, it's a straight cut, and
snap cut.
The episode ends. So double left turn this episode. We're now traveling in a different trajectory than what we thought we were, but there's certainly
forgot about this.
Forget
about this.
I can't though. I can't forget about it. And I
know. Yeah.
The more zigs and zags we take, the more I have difficulty trying to connect those dots and like, I thought we know where we were going, and now I don't.
Which is kind of nice though, because I don't want it to be too
predictable.
Right. Like we were hitting the mark super close, and it was almost like, and so I like having my expectations subverted.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely depending on things, and I like things where the interpretation is gray, so that you can have many interpretations of it.
Yeah, and I mean this definitely this leaves a lot of those like what ifs questions that we had in the last week or so. This episode leaves most, if not all of them, kind of wide open.
No, right. And I strongly think that since Rampart has chosen Ryloth to be his sort of base of operations, we may return here before the end of the season, and we probably will see Eleni, that big
tragic
event.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I think so to some level. I mean, Cham left with that whole we have to get organized, and we know from Rebels that he does go back because he's still fighting for the planet's independence at that time when Hera goes back. So That's a long time, because that's like 3 years prior to the Battle of Yavin. So, I mean, there's a lot more time for him to go back and do stuff and for that tragedy to play out.
No, absolutely.
As it stands right now, it's still an off-camera event until something else happens.
That's right.
Now I'm not so sure.
Certainly, it leaves the door open to a Harris Syndulla, driven show, which, that would be cool too. All these things.
Yeah. I still think that she and Omega, could ideally, I think, having, it would be pretty awesome if Hera and or Jason turned up, in the Mandalorian or in the Ahsoka spinoff, in that whole like bringing Ezra back.
Certainly,
we've all kind of anticipated.
And I got a little headcanon going on where the Jason Syndulla is the Padawan of Ezra Bridger, and it's a happy little story. I'll tell you what.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
The other biggest thing in sort of nerd culture is not necessarily Star Wars, but it's in the Disney wheelhouse. Did everybody catch Loki's finale?
Yep.
I did. I was late to it, but I did finally see it.
Everybody's suitably impressed. I like the sort of disambiguous nature of who exactly the villain was. And I don't know if you guys have only personal theories or anything, but
I've got some personal theories on that.
I don't quite Kang the Conqueror.
I don't know enough about the character, but I do know that that is the actor that's been confirmed to play Kang, and when
100% in the Ant-Man movie, and the statue you get at the end is 100% in the Kang gear, minus the helmet. Yeah. But that character right there is the descendant of Nathaniel Richards, and actually Immortus. If you look at his costume, he's dressed as Immortus there, and Marvel does qualify that He Who Remains is the same character as Immortus, and there are many versions of Immortus, many versions of Kang, many versions of Nathaniel Richards, and I think that they might have to streamline it a bit, because it's very heady stuff, but you get to see like that the stakes now are so, like, instead of one Thanos to deal with, where that guy is taken out half the life in one universe to make things better. Now you have millions upon millions of villains that are wiping out timelines, literally just whole universes. The stakes are crazy high in the Marvel universe. It's really cool.
We're talking about a multiverse, and they don't really say, they don't even imply it how big it could be, but like we're talking about potentially an infinite number of omnipotent villains or semi-omnipotent villains,
and it's all that cool stuff from the Fantastic Four and the spacefaring sort of Avengers stuff that was in the 60s and 70s, and we're going to get a crazy Galactus, and we're going to get the Eternals, and I'm excited. And I've been actually having this discussion with Lauren too about how I didn't think they would go very big with the villain, because it's a TV show, and she kept saying, well, it's the stakes are higher. It's so we see a TV show now introduce the Phase 4 villain for all the films, and it's sort of, instead of the movies introducing TV elements now, so it does level the playing field. Like, the stakes in Loki are huge if we're setting these things up. And I guess the other thing that happened this week in nerd culture was the underwhelming Black Widow movie. I don't know if you guys caught it. I paid $34.
I did. I watched it.
I have not seen it yet.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
It was okay for what it was. I enjoyed a lot of it, part of it, but it left me going, what?
I think it did all the things I wanted it to do, but at the same time, it suffered from all the things that we had speculated months ago. Like, does the world care about this character the farther away from the Infinity Saga that we get?
Right.
And the same, it's, as Andy, we just said before recording today, it suffered the same fate as the Captain Marvel movie, that it was just so out of place in the timeline that it didn't have the impact that it should have had. If this movie came out 2 years ago, it may have been a bigger
may have been more relevant.
Yeah.
And yeah, the interesting thing is that it's the opposite of what I was just talking about, and that's why I brought it up. Is that Loki introduces a Phase 4 villain to cover ostensibly the next 25 movies, if you will.
Yep.
And the Black Widow introduces a minor villain for a Hawkeye TV show.
Yeah, that's true.
So
it's true. Yeah.
It's so out of place in the Marvel universe.
So I don't want to spoil it too much, but I kind of feel like we're there now. And
sorry.
So sticking with Marvel for a second, we have the canonization in an odd way of Deadpool into the MCU.
Yeah.
For anybody who missed that, we have Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds in the Deadpool costume doing a movie trailer review of a Ryan Reynolds movie.
With Korg.
With Korg as his special guest. So here
that's right.
You go, folks. Deadpool is now officially part of the MCU. And if nothing else, the Black Widow movie has formally introduced mutants to the MCU.
Super neat that the Korg actor is Taika Waititi,
who plays the
in the Ryan Reynolds movie.
Ryan Reynolds
movie. And he's the director too of the Ryan
That's
Reynolds.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of
neat. Officially,
and they both trashed the movie. If you listen closely, Ryan Reynolds just goes it says like the last gasp of a dying studio that Fox. He makes some crazy comment about Fox being just ruined, and that his time, the actor's time, would have been better spent concentrating on a Deadpool movie than. So I'm like, whoa.
Fourth wall breaking, mouthpiece that he is. It was perfect.
I remember seeing the trailer to that movie 2 years ago in one of the last theaters I went to. Like, I remember seeing that trailer in a theater.
It's an interesting trailer. It's a movie that I probably will see in the same.
I kind of like Ryan Reynolds a lot.
It's got somewhere between Pixels and oh my God, what's that one I just watched with? I just watched an Amazon movie with the guy who plays Rumolo.
Okay.
He kind of does this, like, it's almost like a video game thing where it's basically a take on Groundhog Day, but it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Where he can't die either. But so again, just to put that out there for those of you who missed it, Black Widow snuck a mutant into the movie.
It's true.
Ursa Major.
Yeah, it is true.
Here. Yeah. The actor just threw that on Twitter yesterday. Yeah. He just like, hey, I can tell you now the character that I played is Ursa Major. And it's cool. I didn't realize the actor is like one of the tallest working actors in Hollywood currently. Certainly one of the tallest bodybuilders on the planet at over 7 feet tall. You got to see this guy. He's a giant. But yeah, so sticking with Marvel,
like the nod to the Crimson Dynamo comment in the original.
Yeah.
Red Guardian's original name.
Sticking with Marvel for a second, I'm going to bring it back around to Star Wars with this one. Is in toy news this week, we saw the next Hasbro HasLab campaign was announced, and it is a 32-inch Galactus for the Marvel Legends. Yeah, so 14,000 backers to fund it. As of last night when I went to bed, it had broke 5,000.
It's gonna hit.
So
why not give a corporation your money to build something that they could probably build anyway?
I did the math on it. That's a $5.6 million campaign. Sure, $5.6 million that Hasbro doesn't have to spend on tool. I mean, they ultimately do have to spend it, but they don't have to earmark that money because they can take it from you, the consumer, directly.
It's a strange marketing thing. I don't know if it'll ever go to the way of smaller items where they literally just fund the average figure this way. It's kind of scary.
No.
I really hope not. And then at the same time, they do things like at this scale, when you have 20 points of articulation in a hand.
How do you even get that?
Well, let's just say
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I counted it up. There's like 15 points in my hand. So.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's
three joints per finger times 4 is 12. 2 at the thumb. Yeah, I don't know. Unless you get some like mid-hand.
There is. I have a Spider-Man with definite mid-hand stuff.
Mid-hand,
so that the crazy. But
I mean, the point of articulation, right? I mean, if it's a hinge, if it's left and right, that's 2 points.
True.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's stupid the way they justify some of
stuff, like some of that.
But the grand total, I think, is 70 in this figure, which is
lots. But it's
if you're pushing those kind of boundaries, I like the long game. I want to see that kind of articulation in my 6-inch figures. There's no excuse why you can't.
I guess so, but then I see characters and like I'll go back to the Toy Biz Legends, and it's like, do I really need toe articulation? I don't. All right, and that brings me back to Star Wars, because the other rumor floating around at Hasbro and HasLab is that they're about to announce the very first Star Wars 6-inch Black Series campaign, and the rumor is that it is going to be the Rancor from Return of the Jedi.
So not Moochie.
Yeah, Moochie, not Moochie the Rancor, the other one.
No.
And it's made it as far as StarWars.com. So
it's true.
How much of a rumor is it then if it's on the official? On the official website,
it's getting some legs. It's one of the main stories. If you go just Google Star Wars news, it's up there.
I tell you, I have yet to back a HasLab campaign, and not because I don't like what they're doing. I honestly do, but it's just I definitely don't have the money to lay out, hundreds of dollars at one time for a single toy. But I joked about stretch goals with Andy yesterday on the Galactus thing, and if they're gonna do the Rancor, there is a way that they could get me to bite, and that's by giving me the damn throne for Jabba that should have came with the convention figure years ago. You gave me the railing and the hookah pipe, but you gave me no throne.
Yeah, no, that's very true. There's a couple things that can make me bite on this one. I wish that there was some version of it that would come out afterwards that was a more reasonable. I'm okay with a different paint job or a lesser quality version of the $500 job that they're doing,
or even something.
I wish there was or I would even wait a year while these people got their Rancors and got to play with them and got to show them on Instagram. I would wait a year just to be able to, instead of the crazy. Have you seen the aftermarkets on the Katana? It's absolutely mental.
I can't imagine. I haven't done it in a while. I know it was 2-3 times as much as what the campaign was asking at the time, but it's like that with anything. As soon as even mass market retail toy lines are hitting the pegs, and then they're going to eBay at sometimes double and triple.
Well, what did you say Cal Kestis is going for, and it just dropped yesterday?
I've seen it. I've seen it for over 300. It's mental. Or that listing where it's like there's no price, and when you click on it, these are the available sellers. And
third party.
There's a 3-pack that was an Amazon exclusive a while back. That was 3 droids from Red Squadron.
With
the dirty beat up R2, and then a R2X or something, and then and that was on sale. Lauren got it for me probably $30, like $10 a figure.
Oh, that's good.
It is almost $400 on Amazon right now.
That's a pass.
It's solid. Like, they're nice, but they're not $400 nice. And I don't know. Once the apocalypse takes, I'm just going house to house.
It just kills me that people, and there are people out there that like now starting to see them creep up again. Is that maybe you've seen this, Andy? Power of the Force figures are creeping up on the marketplace at like $30-$40.
They were in the $5 bin a week after they came out.
People don't realize that even today, a card. Now there is some exceptions, so don't quote me on this, but
right.
By and large, a Power of the Force figure, even today, carded, $10. $10.
That would be my maximum, and then it would be for the rare long saber versions that initially came out. The weird page. It would have to be a variant and in the most pristine shape. but I was in a sports card place in Halifax. It popped up a couple of years ago and it went out of business. It didn't do very well. It's a bad time for that kind of thing, I think, for retail. Yeah, they had a section of crazy overpriced Transformers, like somebody had put them there for consignment because they had one shelf of just a few. Yeah, and then they had 500 of the green Power of the Force, the wave just before Phantom Menace, right? Yeah. And they were going for $12 a pop, and I was like, man, I'll buy them all off you for right now for $1, like each. Like I'll get, you have 50, I'll give you $50 right now. And the guy was like, you're out of your mind. I'm like, yeah, good luck. And a few weeks later, his store was closed. So
so there's no way to know. Yeah. We've seen lots.
$12, man, that's crazy.
I've seen lots turn up on Marketplace lately, and it's like I think about it. For me in my business, like I had a bunch of Power of the Force, and I still have like I don't know, a small handful, maybe 3 or 4 of them, but they're good for kids because I can sell them at a price point where a kid can afford to buy them. So
this is it. I'm right on the cusp of I'm on the cusp of thinking about being on the cusp of thinking about getting rid of all my 3.75 except for the vintage collection.
Yeah,
all my 5 POA stuff is just taking up so much of my space, and
it's hard to be a collector right now with what's going there. Don't get me wrong, there's tons of good stuff. It's just that I can't keep up with everything that I love, so I have to be very discerning now,
and that's the real problem with the Princess Bride stuff coming out and the Robotech stuff that's on the horizon. Yes. I want to diversify, but I need to scale it back a little. So maybe not today, but at some point we'll have a conversation off camera and talk about how one might move Force Awakens and Rogue One and Last Jedi figures en masse.
Yeah, that could be a fun conversation.
Cool.
All right, but that's it for me, guys. That's been it's been our episode 10, I said? 11? 10?
11.
11. 10, 11.
It was our 11th, yeah.
Covering episode 12.
Rescue on Ryloth.
Here's my theory before we go.
Let's hear it.
Based on this episode and how much of a chess game it's becoming, with Crosshair land a trap, here's a future prediction. With him hunting them down, suppose he gets a hold of Omega and uses her as bait to bring them back to Ryloth to spring a trap, which would then bring us to our tragic event for Hera, while still keeping the batch involved at a level we need them to be.
It's possible.
It's true. And then Boba Fett shows up and just shoots everybody.
I definitely wouldn't rule that out. And I wouldn't rule that out either. If nothing more, I actually think there's a better chance at, like, we made the joke about you're never going back to Camino, which means you're absolutely going back to Camino.
Yeah.
I think there's a better chance that whatever transpires happens at Camino. I mean, certainly we are coming back to Ryloth, but I still think that there's unfinished business at Camino that we have to go back for. Certainly. And the hunt, the Crosshair hunt thing, I think may get us back there on some level. All right, guys, any more before we sign off for the day?
Oh, that was really good.
Yeah, so not as much commentary this week as I am normally accustomed to, but the episode itself, again, lots of nuance. Certainly, it's keeping us guessing, if nothing else, and I'm sure it's keeping you guessing as well.
Them drawings can act.
They really can. We'll go back and we'll do a more detailed breakdown of the Omicron class attack shuttle this week on our socials, and we'll put that up with the Havoc Marauder so we can take a closer look at that. But hope you guys are enjoying the show. Follow us along on all of our platforms. Make sure you hit us up on Facebook on the Fandom Power Podcast fan group. It's where we have all of our fun conversations that you guys can take part into. And I guess until next week, guys, where we will catch you on the same batch time, same batch channel. Until then, my friends, au revoir.
Have fun, guys.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to Fandom Power. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be talking about another one of your favorite fandoms. Fandom Power is a Sawcast production.